knows this story that I'm about to tell you guys.
So I definitely didn't have the audio recorder plugged into the camera. And I'm always messing up the audio. So I know half of the story that she's about to tell me.
But she doesn't know the good part.
I don't know the ending.
She doesn't know the good part.
Hi, I'm
I'm
Janine.
Caitlin.
We're the Real Lady Killers.
And we're killing it.
I am killing myself.
It's 1 a.m.
Is it really that
It's
late?
12:55, yeah.
Oh my god, I'm
We'll
so
knock
sorry.
through it. We'll knock through it.
Oh my
It's
god,
gonna be
well
fun.
we can be more to the point now because we know what's happening.
Yeah.
I won't make as many dumb jokes this time.
No, you're good.
It's like Dean Coral all over again.
Sad. Okay. Today I'm telling you guys a murder mystery that Janine has heard half of. It's the Wallace mystery. I forget what it's actually
Is there
called.
any name?
It's called The Impossible Murder.
The Impossible Murder.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that it wasn't so impossible because it did
It
happen.
happened.
Some dumb fucks probably just fucked up the evidence.
Or it's
but
called like the Wallace murder.
the
or
Wallace
whatever.
murder.
Yeah.
Okay, I like the Impossible Murder because I'm like,
It's
okay.
the Impossible Murder. So let's just begin.
Okay.
Your face,
What?
Don't judge me so hard. We're not even friends anymore.
Because I called you, my fiance called you dramatic, and I didn't tell him to stop. I did kind of.
Did you announce that you guys were engaged yet?
No. I'm engaged. That echoed.
I just did. Because I like how you're just like casually like, yeah, my fiance. I'm like, we definitely referred to him as Jason and boyfriend earlier. And I was like,
yeah.
what a subtle change.
I still call him boyfriend. I'm just like, boyfriend. He's my boyfriend.
They got engaged in Japan.
We are super cute.
But they were basically already engaged.
Basically, we picked out this ring like a year ago. He was just waiting for Japan.
The wedding band is really cute. It like wraps around the ring.
We are very cute.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
Let me tell you about a murder.
Leave me leave.
Ow. Okay. I'm first going to introduce you to a man named William Herbert Wallace. William Herbert Wallace was born in Milham, Cumberland in 1878. When we first did this recording, we just talked about how Cumberland and Benedict Cumberbatch sounded the same. We will not make that mistake again.
I said that Benedict Cumberbatch was from Cumberland, and I think that's actually kind of funny. So
He's from Kensington.
we even looked it up just to make sure he wasn't, by some coincidence, actually from Cumberland.
We thought that would have been fun.
I thought that would have been really funny.
He had a younger brother and a younger sister. On leaving school at 14, he began training as a draper's assistant and Borough in Furnace.
Why are we doing this?
Okay, on finishing his apprenticeship, he obtained a position in Manchester. Can I do it with all the names?
Do whatever you want, Caitlin. Okay.
I want to be British on the names.
Okay, I think we were watching too much Achievement Hunter and you want to be Gavin.
Yeah, I do want to be
Okay,
Gavin.
that's okay.
Can you put Gavin's face over mine?
Yeah. So this is, I'm Janine, this is Gavin.
Gavin! It's Gavin!
And we are the Real Lady, because Michael! Okay.
Michael, where you go?
Michael, I'm scared!
Michael, I'm scared!
We're talking about
Can we
Achievement
tag
Hunter,
them?
Achievement
No,
Hunter.
can we like post this on Twitter and be like, we referenced you?
You're like, acknowledge us.
Gavin!
You can go, Michael, I'm scared.
Michael, I'm scared!
What did he say?
That's not even his accent.
He didn't say it's unfortunate. He goes, oh, what did he say? Whenever
It's a real bummer.
What's not like sounds like?
No, he sounds like this, I
That's
think.
a real bummer.
That's a real bummer. That's a real bummer.
Michael, I'm scared. Boy. Okay, we're fine.
Michael.
I love Achievement Hunter.
On finishing his apprenticeship, he obtained a position in Manchester with Mrs. Whiteway Laidlaw and Company, outfitters of Her Majesty's Armed Forces and the Colonial, Indian and Foreign Services. In 1903, he transferred to Calcutta, India. On the suggestion of his brother Joseph, who lived in Shanghai, Wallace sought another transfer to Shanghai. But he had a recurrent kidney problem, and he had his left kidney removed at Guy's Hospital in England, and he stayed in England because of this kidney problem. Little is recorded of Wallace's life after this time. He obtained a position working for the Liberal Party in Harrogate, rising to the position of election agent in 1911. While he was in Harrogate, he met Julia Dennis, and they were married in March 1914. A lot of sources suggest that Julia was the same age as Wallace, but in 2001, James Murphy, a historian or whatever, demonstrated from her original birth certificate that she was actually 17 years older than he was. Suck it!
I just like historian or whatever. I don't know why I just found that so funny.
Anyway, so Julia's father was a ruined alcoholic farmer from...
I made this joke before.
Northallerton. So, okay. So Wallace loses his job at the outbreak of the First World War.
A Tinder profile, and all it says is old alcoholic farmer.
Or whatever.
Okay, it's late. Continue, I'm so sorry.
The position of Liberal election agent in Harrogate was discontinued owing to the suspension of elections and a parliamentary truce. I hope you guys know I'm intentionally doing bad accents.
We know.
Okay, good.
We can tell.
I can do a decent British accent.
Okay, sure.
Want me to do it?
I mean, sure. Prove it.
I mean, there's a lot of different ones. I can do like a Love Island. Because they're like Essex.
Okay.
And it's awful sounding.
Do whatever your heart.
He mugged me off. He straight mugged me off.
That's pretty good.
Make it straight mugging.
One time, Caitlin followed Love Island on our Real Lady Killers account, and I didn't know what the fuck it was. And I guess it's a private account that you have to like get into, and I didn't know what Love Island was, so I unfollowed them. And Caitlin was like, "Why'd you do that?"
I worked so hard to get on that.
Well, because when we tried to follow them back on that account,
they wouldn't let us. I love Love Island.
I know this. Because you followed them on her account.
I love it so much. It's the only reality show that airs every day. It's amazing.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah, it airs every day except for
God.
Saturdays, which are recap nights.
How do you have that much time?
How do I have that much time?
How do they have that much time to be
they're like
producing
just
that?
in an island for a whole summer.
And that's it? So you're just
and
in
they're
their
just falling
lives
in love
every day?
They're just falling in love, yeah.
Okay.
And the winner is whatever couple like remains. And that everyone still likes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
do they vote
like,
each other out, or
no? It's like
audience?
the nation.
The nation.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Okay. So after the First World War, he gets rid of his job. He works as a collections agent with Prudential Assurance Company in Liverpool. The Wallaces then moved to Liverpool, settling in the district of Anfield. So Wallace then supplements his comfortable mundane existence as collections agent by lecturing part-time in chemistry at Liverpool Technical College. His hobbies include botany, chemistry, and chess. And he learned to play the violin to enable him to accompany Julia, who was an accomplished pianist in musical evenings at their home at 29 Wolverton Street, Anfield.
That sounds super British.
Wallace, age 52, attended a meeting of the Liverpool Central Chess Club on Monday 19th of January.
The drama. The suspense.
January 19th, 1931, which happens to be a Monday, to play a scheduled chess game. While he was there, he was handed a message, which had been received by telephone about 25 minutes before he arrived. It requested that he call at an address at 25 Menlove Gardens East, Liverpool, at 7:30 p.m. the following evening to discuss insurance with a man who had given his name as R.M. Qualtrop!
Why must you?
R.M. Qualtrop. Tell me I'm not hilarious.
You're very funny. Okay.
Wallace actually only attended this chess club sporadically. But the callers somehow appeared to know he would be there that night and left a message for him with chess club captain Samuel Beatty, asking to meet regarding insurance. business.
We're good.
Wallace had never heard of Coltrop and had never received an unsolicited call like this, but he was like, hey, maybe I'll get some business out of it. It's the Depression, whatever. Like, maybe I'll make some money. So, on every occasion that he possibly could, he mentions to his friends that he's going to meet this Coltrop guy. So he goes and looks for this Coltrop guy. But something that is pretty important is that there's this big inside joke in Liverpool that there are tons of Menlove Gardens, north, south, west Menlove Gardens, but there is no East Menlove Garden. In fact, it's a huge joke among locals. So that's a real problem for him.
Yep.
So Wallace is like
Dumb
traveling
fuck.
on his tram car to the south of the city at the time requested, only to discover that there is no Menlove East. But he makes like inquiries in a nearby newsagent, and he speaks to a policeman on his beat, but like no one knows where he's talking about, and no one knows who Coltrop is. He also called at 25 Menlove Gardens West and asked several other passerbys in the neighborhood for directions, but like everyone's like, I'm sorry, I don't know. Wallace was looking for an address he had never heard of, and in doing so, he made sure that he would be remembered by everyone that he met. The tram's conductor even recalled how Wallace repeatedly pestered him and his ticket inspector to alert him where to get off. When the tram conductor eventually pointed Wallace to the correct stop, he seemed particularly keen to impart to the conductor, I am a complete stranger around here.
Why would you say that? I'm just confused.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's not subtle.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing.
You're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Who am I?
Where am I?
You're just asking to get straight mugged. Like,
Right.
if this is just who he is and it's not even, like, suspicious behavior, like, bro is just asking to get mugged by someone. Because if I were a common criminal, I would be like, you're not from around here.
Cool.
Good. Like, take
dumb
your
fuck.
money.
You're like, mine, thanks.
So Wallace, like, checks out the district for 45 minutes and then goes home. His next door neighbors, the Johnsons, were about to go out for a nice evening. Notably, the Johnsons, the husband of the Johnsons, his first name is John.
John Johnson.
John Johnston! A great man. So they encounter Wallace in the alley, and apparently Wallace is, like, complaining because he's like, yo, I can't get into my house, in the front door, in the back door, like, dude, I can't get in. And he, like,
fuck.
out of nowhere to his friends goes, have you heard anything unusual tonight? Which is like, sir.
Just very suspicious. Like, why would you be saying that?
What if they go, no?
Like, what would they say? They're like, I don't know. Like,
maybe.
Things are fine.
So while they watched, Wallace tried the back door again, which now opened, now that, like, the Johnsons are, like, standing right there watching. And inside his house, he found his wife, Julia, who had been brutally beaten to death in the sitting room. As the Johnsons waited outside, Wallace lit a lamp and moved carefully around the house. A few moments later, he stepped back outside and said flatly, oh, come and see. She's been killed.
That's my favorite, where he's just like, yep, she dead.
Oh, come have tea. It's been a rough night.
You've already heard this joke because we recorded this once before, but that's like me with my life when it's falling apart. I'm just like, come see. Everything's fucked.
It's a show.
It's all shit.
Party. Let's all play. Okay. So the Johnsons, like, walk in and they see Julia, who's, like, laid out in front of the gas fire in the front room, violently battered to death, blood splatter, like, splashed across the walls. And then fucking Wallace only has this to say when she goes, they finished her. Look at her brains.
Look at my life in shambles.
He goes, isn't it quaint?
Isn't it quaint?
Isn't it
And again, I
strange?
made this point earlier, but it's a recurring theme. In the John Benet Ramsey case, another case that my favorite murder had.
The Shepherd case or something?
Possibly.
The doctor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that case. And like you see repetitively, allegedly, whenever the husband or whoever kills the wife, or allegedly the parents know about
the kid's murder or something like that, they'll like go get their neighbors to see first, so that they're like witnessing them finding the body or whatever before they call the cops or like an ambulance or whatever.
Because it's like
very
it's less
shady,
I guess, somehow. If someone sees you see them.
Yeah, or like it's like witnesses or something.
Yeah, it's weird because like you could still have murdered them. It doesn't clear your I don't know, you know?
Well, because then usually it does happen that way if you're doing something shady. You know?
I don't trust it.
Yeah.
So back in the kitchen, Wallace notices that the locked cupboard where he kept his insurance collection money had been wrenched open and that 4 pounds inside had been stolen, which I am now curious how much that would have been in 1930. 4 pounds, sorry, it's $250.
Okay, still not like a crazy amount of money, though.
No, it's really just not that much money. Not to sound like privileged and gross, but
like whenever you're like stealing things from someone's house, you'd steal more valuable things. You wouldn't steal just that. Because when you're going into like ransack people's houses, you're stealing like the expensive jewelry, and you're stealing the things that you can pawn off for lots of money. Like you're not gonna go kill someone for like $200.
And that's an important point because like no other object in the house had been ransacked, including money from Julia's handbag, which rested on the kitchen table. If I were a thief, that would be like my first stop. I'd be like, let's take this cash. Like,
well, that was the thing about the Shepherd case too, is like things were kind of like trifled with, and like drawers were open and things were messed up, but like their wallets were fine, nothing had been stolen. And that happened with the Darlie Roudier case too, was that like apparently it was an intruder or something, but nothing was actually stolen. It's like that's a motif, like that happens a lot whenever it's set up.
So like John Johnston is like, okay, everyone fucking leave. Like, I'm sorry, like everyone stay in this house, don't touch anything. I'm gonna go get the police and a doctor.
Like, what should have already happened?
The doctor was kind of a useless thing to get because Julia was super dead. But
just the most dead.
But I mean, like, just to check, you know?
Yeah.
So 25 minutes later, the first group of officers from the Maryside police arrived at the Wallace home. However, they didn't handle the case very well due to a major strike in 1919 that had led to half of its staff being dismissed, and those remaining often filling in roles that they were not qualified or experienced for.
It's like what happened whenever people went on strike for their wages when making anime. Do you know what I'm talking about? The whole anime
the fruit
strike
basket thing. The reason why that doesn't get
and like Kari Kano, like how it just like a lot of anime just like went to shit because of the whole like wages. Yeah.
But the difference is life and death versus anime creation.
No, you're right. But
I'm just like, it's the same concept.
It's the same concept. Gotta relate it to things that my brain can understand, like, which is anime.
What is a strike? Quitting. The first officers on the scene, PC Fred Williams and Police Sergeant Breslin, made a cursory search of the property. They were like, yo, things have been like rifled through, but like most of the house like appears undisturbed. But they do notice that underneath Julia's body was a partially burnt Macintosh coat. And they're unsure if it belonged to the killer or if it belonged to Julia. During the next hour, a pressman from the Liverpool Daily Post arrived to do double duty as a police photographer, and John Edward Whitley McFall, a lecturer of forensic medicine at Liverpool University, is called as the police's forensics expert. McFall makes a crucial mistake, which is pretty important, which is that he fucks up the time of death. In 1931, using the cadaver's rigor mortis alone to determine how long someone had been dead was totally out of date. But that's exactly what McFall did, stating his opinion that Julia had died at around 8 p.m., 45 minutes before Wallace returned home, based on body stiffness. And based on that, it'd be pretty impossible for Wallace to have committed the murder because he was out in, like, East Liverpool or whatever.
Okay.
McFall later changes his mind, but no other tests are conducted, so he just kind of has this moment where he's like, no, I was wrong. And it's like, but you can't do that.
Yeah. And he's a lecturer on this stuff, so he should have known better. Like, that's concerning.
He's teaching the new medical examiners.
I'd be like, hi, refund on my classes, thanks.
You're stupid.
You're a dumb fuck.
I'm such a yawner.
It's late.
A more detailed examination of the body revealed that Julia had been severely beaten over the head with a blunt object. The most severe blows occurring around the left ear where brain tissue could be seen protruding from the skull.
I don't like it.
I don't either. The fatal blows were probably inflicted while she laid face down on the floor in front of the fire. Police believe she must have brushed the fire as she fell due to the singeing of her dress and the partial burning of the Macintosh coat. Detective Superintendent Hubert Rory Moore arrived next, but he was slightly drunk because he had just gotten back from the pub. Moore had his eye on Wallace because he was like, yo, the husband probably did it. Which, as we were talking about earlier, I'm like, same. Drunk me can also still smell a fucking rat.
Yeah.
Like, I'm watching Dateline, I'm wasted out of my mind. I still know the husband did it.
Always.
Like,
it's always the husband. We just already know.
Like, I vibe with Moore. I'm like, me too, man. But there was another possibility, and Moore was willing to admit that the crime was the work of the Anfield housebreaker, a burglary that had plagued the local area in the previous months.
I think like the husband commissioned someone to do it. I'm just throwing a wild guess out here now, because if he was like making such a point to be out and about the entire day, I feel like whoever called, maybe he called himself before he got to the chess game, so that he'd have an alibi, and then made sure everyone saw him around town, but someone else did it, but he knew it was happening.
I guess we'll see.
But that's what I think it is.
We'll see.
It is a murder mystery.
The culprit had to have been so obviously covered in blood due to the frenzy of the attack. Splatter had sprayed across the whole room. Blood was drizzling walls 7 feet high. An examination of the house's drains and sinks revealed that they had not been used that evening, so the assailant must have fled the property drenched in the victim's blood. A more thorough search of the house, yard, and surrounding area could uncover no trace of a murder weapon. The Wallace's cleaner would tell police a thin metal fire poker and an iron bar from the parlor were missing, but they didn't know.
Oh my god, is this the staircase is this the original staircase?
I just spit everywhere.
It's okay.
No, yeah, kind of.
And they're like, it's missing, but it was just in the garage the entire fucking
What if
time.
an owl actually did this one?
What if the owl actually did that one?
I sometimes think about
Dude,
it.
that's such a weird case. I'm like, you know what? At this point, I'm so confused. Maybe the owl did do it.
I don't really know how I feel on that one. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I know a lot of people are very cut and dry about the staircase. I'm so mixed on this whole thing. Like, the fact that his children still side with him is kind of something where I'm like, that's interesting to me. I don't know.
It's such a weird case.
It is. But yeah,
Maybe it was the owl.
But yeah, they don't know what the murder weapon is yet. So they're like, could any of these be
The murder weapon is
it?
an owl.
Yeah, it is. So while this is all like being kind of like looked into, Wallace is like sitting in his kitchen and he calmly explains to Hubert Moore and the other detectives the strange circumstances of his evening, the whole stuff with Menlove Gardens, the chess club phone call from R.M. Qualtrough. And around midnight, he was taken to the police station to make a formal statement saying, I have no suspicion of anyone. In the following days, police began to develop some contradictory evidence regarding Wallace's involvement in his wife's death. A switchboard supervisor at the Liverpool Telephone Exchange had narrowed the call to the chess club to a phone booth just 400 yards from Wallace's house in Wolverton Street.
Wait.
So the call that was given to the chess club was from a phone booth just 400 yards from their house.
Oh, no, honey.
The booth was adjacent to where Wallace had caught the tram to his chess club the night before the murder. Shortly before he had arrived at the chess club, the telephone message had been received. To police, they were like, yo, that's a big coincidence. So, like you, they thought had Wallace placed the call himself in order to provide himself with an alibi for the murder.
He did.
So they're starting to go like, yo, this is wild. Everything's like really solidifying. He and his wife were like allegedly a really strange couple. He was, again, ill all the time with kidney troubles. And she was described by their friends as fastidious and peculiar. A former friend characterized their marriage as strained and lacking in feeling. So a lot of people wondered if he just like snapped at some point. But they're kind of lacking a solid motive, honestly. Police had noticed Wallace's strange demeanor, especially in how he had made such a fuss on the tram and around Menlove Gardens, and they're like, okay, this guy was looking for an alibi.
Yeah, and whenever he was at the chess club, he was like, I have an appointment tomorrow.
I must go!
Ooh, yes.
I must go!
Yeah.
From the Johnsons, they had discovered the curious business with the locks that suddenly open once they're present. And like
he definitely has something to do with it. Like, he definitely does.
Well, and like you, the police go, was Wallace ensuring that he would have witnesses when the body was discovered.
He has something to do with it.
But despite Wallace becoming the prime suspect, the reconstruction of the time surrounding the murder looked to be the, out for him. He was firmly placed on the tram to Menlove Gardens at 7:06, and several witnesses had come forward to state that they had seen Julia alive between 6:30 and 6:45 p.m. This would have given Wallace a window of around only 15 minutes to kill his wife, clean himself up, change his clothes, and go catch a tram.
I don't think he did it, but I think he was setting it up.
Yeah, I think that's possible. Yeah. But police, I think in this time were like, well, he definitely probably didn't do it.
Yeah.
Police tried to increase the window of opportunity he might have had by staging a reenactment with a young police officer sprinting from Wolverton Street to the tram stop, but it was obvious that this, sick AF, 52-year-old insurance salesman was not going to be doing this. Yeah. So they're like, who the hell is Qualtrough? But
who the heck is Qualtrough?
But they're like, whoever he was, he gives Wallace an alibi. Oh,
so Qualtrough is Wallace.
We don't know yet.
It is. Come on.
Maybe.
It is.
The problem was it didn't look like anyone else could have committed the crime. There was no weapon, no other suspects, no witnesses, and the body was found in a locked house. If it's not Wallace, whoever killed Julia pulled off the perfect crime.
Okay. But I mean, commissioned assassin would have known how to.
To lock the doors, though? But he has the keys.
Can you not lock it from the inside?
But where would the assassin
Maybe he gave him an extra key.
Maybe. It would have been harder in that time to make a spare. You would have had to plan this very much in advance.
But maybe he,
I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm just saying,
maybe he met up with him in the town and gave it back to him.
Maybe.
Who knows?
That'd be interesting.
I mean, it's complex, but...
No, I mean, it's not more complex than, any other alternative here. I think it's more ridiculous to say it's someone that doesn't have a key and somehow magic presto got themselves inside and then magic presto out.
Yeah. Houdini.
Up to his arrest 2 weeks later, Wallace made 2 voluntary statements, but was never intensely questioned by police, although he was required to attend CID headquarters every day and was asked specific questions about whether the Wallaces had had it made, why he had asked the man who had taken the telephone message at the chess club to be specific about the time he took it, because he was like, what time was it? And he had... And, they asked whether he had spoken to anyone in the street on his way back home to his house from his abortive attempt to find Mr. Qualtrough. Forensic examination of the crime scene revealed that Julia Wallace's attacker was likely to have been heavily contaminated with her blood, as I said before. Wallace's suit, which he had been wearing on the night of the murder, was examined closely, but there's, absolutely no blood on it. The police formed the theory that a Macintosh, which was inexplicably found under her corpse, as I said before, had been used by a naked Wallace to shield himself from blood splatter while committing the crime. But the problem is it's 7 feet high, the blood.
Yeah.
It's going above him. I don't know how much that would...
It would have been in his hair or something too,
But then also, examination of the blood and drains revealed that they had not been recently used.
Can you do this? Have a coat and then just a knife,
Yeah, I feel that's complicated.
Yeah.
How? Examination of the bath and drains revealed that they had not been recently used, as I said, and there was no trace of blood, apart from a tiny clot in the toilet, but,
yeah.
Who fucking knows? Wallace consistently denied having anything to do with the crimes, but he was charged with murder and stood trial at Liverpool Assizes. The Prudential Staff Union believed that Wallace was innocent and sponsored his defense. That's his boss. That's who he works for. The evidence against him was purely circumstantial, and there was a statement of a local milk delivery boy who was certain he had spoken to Julia Wallace only minutes before her husband would have left to catch his tram. Wallace was found guilty after an hour's deliberation and was sentenced to death.
Oh, no. I mean, I get that it is kind of circumstantial and iffy. There's no set evidence that he did it, although I do think he had something to do with it.
It's creepy, though.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. However, in May 1931, the Court of Criminal Appeals quashed the verdict on the grounds that it was not supported by the weight of the evidence, and Wallace walked free.
I get that, yeah. I mean, I don't want him to walk free, but I can see how, in a trial, the evidence, wasn't
It's not
there wasn't.
there.
There wasn't evidence there.
The decision meant that the jury was wrong, and appeals are usually brought on the basis of bad decisions by the presiding judge of the original trial or by the emergence of new evidence. So that's like super unprecedented, had never really been done before.
Okay.
Just saying a jury's wrong.
Okay.
So after his successful appeal, Wallace returned to his job in insurance, but public opinion in the areas where he lived and worked were strongly against him, and people believed that he was guilty and had gotten away with it. Many of his previous customers shunned him. He got hate mail. He had to take a clerical job at his employer's head office. He moved to a bungalow in Bromborough. Less than 2 years after the appeal, and he was still employed by this company, but then he dies on February 1933 at age 54 from uremia and pyelonephritis at the Cambridge Hospital.
Something like that.
No other person has ever been charged with murder, and it remains officially unsolved. Since the murder, various people have investigated the case. A few convinced of Wallace's guilt and most of his innocence. Several features of the case have captured the imaginations of a lot of crime writers, including Wallace's stoic demeanor throughout, the chess-like quality of the puzzle, the fact that like it's all locked and someone had gotten in and like somehow gotten out. And the fact that almost every piece of evidence could be interpreted in two ways, both equally to Wallace's guilt and to his innocence.
Okay.
In 1960, crime writer Jonathan Goodman made inquiries that led him to a man who had worked with Wallace at the Prudential. This man had done some of Wallace's collection work for him when the older man had been ill in 1928. Wallace had then had first-hand evidence that the younger man did not pay in all the premiums which he had collected. Yet, for some reason, Wallace does not seem to have passed this information on to the Prudential. About a year later, the young man left the company to join another insurance firm. Wallace was told that while this man had not been sacked, he had left under something of a cloud, his father making up some of his son's shortfall, but this guy knew Julia Wallace well.
Okay.
In 1980, Roger Wilkes, a news editor, investigated the case for a radio program to be broadcast on the 50th anniversary of the crime in early 1981. He learned that Goodman's suspect had given the police an alibi for the time of Julia's murder, the suspect being that young man. The alibi had been a woman to whom he was engaged, but after Wallace's death and after being jilted, she offered to swear to Wallace's solicitor that the alibi had been false.
Oh, no.
Wilkes also discovered that, on the night of the murder, the man had visited a local garage. He used a high-pressure hose to wash down his car, and a mechanic at the garage had noticed that one of his gloves was soaked in blood. Wilkes attempted to track down the suspect, only to learn he had died but a few months previously. His name was Richard Gordon Parry, a junior employee at Wallace's insurance firm. In 1931, Parry had been a spoiled man of 22 with access to a car and a lifestyle that meant he was always short on money.
Oh, no.
Wilkes' case is that Parry knew that Wallace's insurance takings for the day would have been in a cash box at Wallace's home. Since he knew Mrs. Wallace personally, it would have been no trouble to visit her on some pretext, once Wallace had been lured out of the house by means of the phone call sending him to a non-existent address.
Maybe he took her key and locked the door on the way out.
I mean, that's possible. I don't think there's any evidence that a key wasn't taken.
Was or wasn't there.
Yeah. The murder of Julia Wallace for the insurance takings was somewhat in vain, as there was very little in the cash box that day. Parry was seen by the police as part of the investigation, but was given a false alibi by the girlfriend. The case against Parry is generally seen as much stronger than that against Wallace and ascribes a much more convincing motive. Because as I said before, Wallace doesn't have a super strong motive except for like, oh, I hate my wife. Like,
yeah.
There was witness evidence of a blood-stained glove found in Parry's car on the night of the murder. The evidence from the man who cleaned the car was deliberately suppressed by the police at the time for some reason. Wilkes argues that there was, moreover, no motive or reason for Wallace to kill his own wife, and that he was charged because the immense publicity surrounding the case impelled the police to get a conviction at any cost. Parry died in 1980 without admitting any involvement in the crime. However, when Jonathan Goodman and his friend Richard Whittington Egan confronted him on his London doorstep in 1966, Parry displayed an astonishingly detailed knowledge of the case and was aware of the deaths of several obscure witnesses connected with the case.
Oh, he has like an obsession with it. That's sketchy. Okay.
Parry had been suspected long before Goodman or Wilkes began their investigation. In 1934, author Winifred Duke made oblique references to the name of the killer as Harris, a Commonwealth surname which is a cognate of Perry.
Okay.
Writing in the Sunday Times magazine, P.D. James refers to the conclusions of Goodman and Wilkes, but speculates that Perry made the Qualtriff call to the chess club as a practical joke in retaliation for Wallace's having reported Perry to their employers for dishonesty. She concludes that Wallace did in fact murder his wife and speculates that the murder weapon was an iron poker with which Wallace struck his victim, or an owl, having first stripped and covered himself with a Macintosh, which still seems weird to me, which was found at the scene of the murder, spattered with Julia's blood, and that it was entirely possible for him to have done so within a reconstructed timeline of events of that evening, which I don't think is quite true.
I don't think so.
She believes that in the end, justice was done, if only the fallible justice of men. This reading of the evidence must, however, be set against the fact that Wallace probably never reported his experience of Perry's dishonesty to their mutual employer. There was no evidence that he did, and that Perry was not formally dismissed either at the time or later. There is no evidence that Wallace attempted to use this information to coerce or blackmail Perry.
Okay.
In 2017, Erin Carlton describes how her father, the late Sir Stanley Holmes, visited Wallace in his prison cell after he had been convicted. Holmes was then a teenager working for Liverpool Corporation and was friendly with the sons of Wallace's regular chess opponent, Mr. Caird. Okay. Carlton wrote that Holmes said that Wallace revealed the name of the man he thought was the murderer. It was a man who Holmes knew from Lister Drive School. Carlton wrote that her father said the man was clever, but a bad lot, and some years after the murder, he had seen him in the dock accused and convicted over a different matter. Speculating about Wallace's motives and asking to see her father, Carlton wrote that Wallace may have suspected that the city's local government establishment wanted to protect the son and nephew of one of their own, and that the case against him was brought to do just that. She added that she believed that the young man her parents knew and thought was a bad lot and very possibly a murderer was a man named Roger Wilkes. In 2018, author Anthony M. Brown surveyed all the published theories, and before concluding on that, he says that a previously unpublished theory is the best explanation for one of the most puzzling murder cases in British criminal history. He holds that Richard Gordon Perry was indeed the brains behind the robbery, which turned to murder when Perry's unknown accomplice was confronted by Julia Wallace after rifling the cash box, after first gaining entry to 29 Wolverton Street on the pretext he was Qualtriff. So they're saying that, like, he has this accomplice that, like, is doing all the dirty work.
I'm having a hard time that the husband didn't know it was happening at all.
I also am kind of confused on how saying to the wife that saying that you're Qualtriff would help, because would, like, gain you entry, because I just don't think it would. So. I don't think she would care.
I don't know. It's like
she doesn't know who Qualtriff is, right?
Yeah. No, because he left. Like, he left the chess game to go look for this Menlove place.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time believing that the husband didn't know anything about it. I think he orchestrated it for whatever fucking reason, or knew that he was gonna try to go rob the place or something like that.
Yeah.
Because it's just too sketchy. It's just too iffy of him. Yeah. Like, whoever murdered her, I think he knew about it. Whether he was, like, setting it up, or if this guy was, like, low on money, he could have been paying him off to kill her or something. I don't know. I don't know why he would.
Oh, wait, we read this sentence wrong. Was the man named by Roger Wilkes? Oh, so it's Perry.
It is Perry.
She's echoing that
it was Perry.
That it would be Perry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I got so confused.
I think Perry murdered her, but I think that the husband knew it was happening.
I feel like there's a chance they could have collaborated.
I think
maybe?
so.
Like, maybe he was like, hey, I won't tell on you if you help me murder my wife.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's equally as possible.
Yeah. Well, it's like, because if the doors were locked, either he gave him a key and he was able to lock it, or he was able to tell him where her key was.
Yeah.
And lock it. Or, or they left their key in the mailbox, like that time you had the squatter in your house.
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
just the fact that he was like, he was making it so obvious that he was out and about that day.
So weird. And
with the whole neighbor thing is just always so sketchy. Like, I don't know, dude.
I don't know either. And I think
I've solved it, though.
Yeah. For me, I think that there is, like, definitely too much evidence against Perry for him to not be involved.
Yeah.
I think it's the same with Wallace.
I think they're both
the
involved.
evidence is, like, too much. I don't know. I did want to read you some fun quotes to show like what impact this murder has had.
Okay.
So I'm not going to read all of them, but I'm just going to pick them like at random because I really just don't care. But Raymond Chandler, who wrote Fahrenheit
451?
Yeah. Said that the Wallace case is the non-parallel of all murder mysteries. I call it the impossible murder because Wallace couldn't have done it, and neither could anyone else. The Wallace case is unbeatable. It will always be unbeatable.
Except I just solved it. I don't understand. Like, why are y'all so dramatic about it? Like, guys, it's very simple.
Dorothy L. Sayers in Anatomy of Murder said the Wallace murder had no key move and it ended, in fact, in stalemate.
Yeah.
Which is pretty
Well,
good.
then he also died. Everyone died, so we have no closure.
Yeah.
I just think that both of them had something to do with it in one way or another. And, you know.
Yeah.
It's all too sketchy.
I just thought it'd be fun to kind of mix things up with a nice little murder mystery for us.
Except it's not. Why do we keep calling it a mystery when I've solved it? I don't understand.
Send a letter to like the British Royal Police
and be like, guys, this is what happened. Like
you should be like,
it's
hi
in
guys.
your face. Hello.
You should be like, so I solved it, and
you're welcome. You're welcome.
You should make me Queen of fucking England
and make me the highest level detective in your...
You can be part of the Scotland Yard.
Yes!
You can become Chief Detective, Scotland Yard.
That would be good. I think that's my calling.
To be the Chief Detective of Scotland
Yeah.
Yard. Do you have a Scottish accent?
I can work on it.
Can you do it right now?
No, I don't want to do it right
Can you do it right now, please? Can I bully you into it?
Do I have to have one?
Yeah.
Well, because then if I don't, then
rule.
I'll stand out even more. Like
Yeah,
I want to
be. That's a bad thing. You need to go undercover.
Well, if I have an accent, I can go undercover, right? People do fake accents for...
Yeah, but that's stupid, because they'll be like, that American girl's following me.
That dumb American girl with the bright yellow hair keeps following me.
She thinks she's sly.
I'd be like,
her. What is that like? The like ninja. I'm a ninja. Ninja.
Oh,
like
we'll just call him Ryan Higa.
I was like, what is that called?
His name, Ryan Higa.
Ninja.
But I knew exactly what you were talking about.
How's that thing go? I'm a ninja. Ninja.
Wait. Wait. Oh, the ninja glare. That was it.
Stunning.
Because I loved him. He did like Twilight spoofs.
Yeah.
And he was my first like YouTuber that I watched. You know, like me and my brother. First YouTube. Ryan Higa.
Shane Dawson was mine, which I feel.
I used to watch Shane Dawson with my cousin Brady too, so I get that. But me and Cody, my brother, used to watch Ryan Higa because the ninja glare. In my heart, 5 ever.
Well, that was my story.
I was gonna use this as a shaker, but there's no water left in it, so. Bottoms up, bitches.
Wow. You actually did it!
It's a water bottle, so it's...
Can I do it?
Yeah, you can do it. It's very easy. Caitlin just hit yourself in the... We gotta do the thing.
Make sure to subscribe and like this video. Leave a comment if you feel like it. Make sure to hit the bell notification icon so that you get notifications every time we post like a sweet ass video.
Can you tell that Caitlin watches a lot of YouTube videos because how perfectly she does this? Buy our merch.
In the link down below.
Links down below.
Make sure to follow us all of our social media, which is down
Same way it's
below.
spelled here. That's what Graveyard says.
Yeah.
Graveyard Girl, same way it's spelled here. That's how she says.
Real lady killers.
So, yeah.
That's it.
All the things are down below. But you know the drill. You watch YouTube. You know what's happening.
You know what's happening.
You're
We're gonna ask
hip.
you to like subscribe to our channel.
There's a piano right here.
There's a Laura Lee reference. Laura Lee.
Okay, bye.